Hello, everybody. This is your Pokemon Professor here. We're going to be talking about our new series that is just now starting. This is the first episode. We're going to be talking about basically every Pokemon that's ever existed in Pokemon, at least the main series games that I know of. I know obviously certain ones don't exist. Technically, for instance, as an example, Missing No. I'm not going to cover Missing No just because Missing No's all sorts of weird, but I'm not going to be covering any glitched Pokemon or anything like that. I'm still going to be covering Mew, Mewtwo, all three legendary birds, etc. I'm going to cover all legendaries, every Pokemon. I'm probably only going to be focusing on the final stages, unless there's something important about some of the base stages. For instance, later we'll probably be going into like Charizard. I might be covering Charmeleon and Charizard, or Charmander and Charizard, because there is that type change. Once Charmeleon becomes Charizard, there's that type change that we're going to be covering, going from a fire type to a fire flying type, that adds in some extra weaknesses and adds in a few extra strengths. But this first video is we're going to be talking about Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, and kind of Bulbasaur. And we're going to be talking about how he does in competitive, or she does in competitive. And we might even throw in, is their shiny any good and is it worth it? But my goal is to cover every single Pokemon that has been released from now until Scarlet and Violet. And my goal is to get through every single one. Now, for certain Pokemon that have, for instance, Alolan forms or Galarian forms, I'm going to be covering both of them at the same time. So like Vulpix and Ninetales, Sandshrew and Sandslash, and then also Gudra and Galarian Gudra. I'm going to be covering all of those as I go through them, probably in their own video. So when I get to Venusaur, the video, let's say hypothetically, the episode for Venusaur is going to be like 10 minutes, but like the ones for like Alolan Ninetales and normal Ninetales is going to be like 20 minutes, because I'm going to be covering both of them in the same video. Maybe I'll break them up into two separate videos. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'll find out when I get there. I'm also going to be covering the Megas, like I said before, but this is our Venusaur. Venusaur, in my opinion, is one of the better Pokemon when you're playing through just Gen 1, period. Venusaur just has an advantage over basically everything for like the first 4 Gen battles. He basically is going to carry you from start to halfway through the game, no issue, no problem whatsoever. But we're not going to be talking about main series games, why they're good in those games. We're going to be talking about why he's good in competitive. So the thing with Venusaur is that we have Overgrow. So Overgrow as an ability is going to be the same thing for every grass type starter, just like Blaze and Torrent for fire and water types respectively. Overgrow is going to do the same thing, but for different types. So Overgrow, Blaze, and Torrent are all going to be at 1/3 or less of its max HP. This Pokemon's attacking stat is 1.5 with grass attacks, fire attacks, water attacks, respectively. And then their hidden ability for Venusaur is Chlorophyll. If Sunny Day is active, this Pokemon's speed is double, which is kind of cool. The only issue is that when you're doubling 196, it doesn't really get any higher. Like 196, sure, but you're already as slow as dirt Pokemon. Doubling that might help you outspeed some things, but overall, in my opinion, you're not going to be able to outspeed a whole lot. The good news is about Venusaur is that if you look at its attack stat, it's a 169 attack at max, but we can also look at the bases. I don't know if you guys want the bases or the maxes at level 100. I look at the stats at level 100 because a lot of times, if you look at the stats for level 100, you can get the stats at level 50. You just have to cut them in half. And most of the time, if you do cut them in half, you will end up with a higher number than you think. So for instance, I have max HP on this Venusaur. At level 100, he should have 364 HP. Now, half of 364 is 182, if I did my math right. I'm pretty sure I did. We're going to pretend I did my math right. So essentially, at level 50, you should have 182 HP. So we're going to go to level 50, pop up over here. We have 187. So it's actually a little bit more than you think it actually will be. And I think that has to do with the RNG of leveling up, or not really RNG. The process of leveling up. I feel like in later levels, you get better stat increases than you will in lower levels. But we're just going to look at everything as level 100 just to make this video a little bit easier and just to make it a little bit more simple. So Venusaur being a grass and poison type, hopefully if I remembered, I have a type chart set up right over here. I have one here off the side of my screen just so I can look at it, just in case I'm not forgetting anything, because I don't want to give you guys false information. That sounds like a very bad idea. So if you're looking at a grass type is going to be taking half damage from water, electric, grass, and ground typing, which is pretty good. Now, as a poison type, you're going to be taking half damage from grass, fighting, poison, bug, and fairy, which is pretty good typing, in my opinion. So you got a good amount of resistances. Now, the issue with grass types is that they're weak to fire, so you have a fire weakness. You also have an ice weakness and a poison weakness, but because you are weak to poison, but you also resist poison due to your coverage, you're going to be neutral to poison. And that's going to be the same thing for ground typing. You're going to be neutral to ground typing because grass resists ground, but poison's weak to ground. So you're going to be, again, neutral to ground. But you do have some good type coverage there. The issues you have to be worried about is you do have to be worried about fire type, ice type, bug type, psychic type, and that's about it. So you don't have too many to be worried about it, but there are very general typings, and a lot of times those will outspeed you. If you look at Charizard's speed compared to Venusaur's speed, Charizard will outspeed you every time. Most of the time, psychic types are also going to outspeed you. A lot of times, ice types won't outspeed you necessarily, but you don't have anything really to hit an ice type with that's going to kill it. So you kind of have to switch out anyway. And then on top of that, you're also weak to flying, which is a problem because if we know what flying types are, considering they're birds most of the time, they're going to be faster than you. So at that point, you are going to be getting hit, which is why Venusaur makes up for that what he does with his bulk. 83 base defense and 100 base special defense. You are going to be tanking some things, maybe not as good as, let's say, an Aggron, because Aggron's defense is like a bajillion, whereas your defense is like 83. You're going to be taking things pretty good, maybe not the best of things. Obviously, you're going to be more specially defensive than you are physically defensive, but for the most part, you're going to do pretty good. Doubling your speed stat isn't really going to change a whole lot, so that's kind of a problem, considering. I'm not going to be covering any items or anything, because if you cover items and you just get super controversial, and I don't want to do that to you guys. I just want to be covering kind of the basics, and I still have to look at Mega Venusaur. Anyway, so we're not going to be dealing with items. We're going to be under the impression that if your Pokemon can Mega, you will be Megaing it. So I'm not going to be covering any item options for Venusaur, Charizard, or Blastoise, or anything else that has a Mega, like I said, under the impression that you are going to Mega Evolve them. Now, we are going to look at some of the moves here, so we're going to take a look at some of the best stab moves you have. So best grass moves that you have. So you have if I could talk, if you have a special attacking Venusaur, you're going to be going with something along the lines of your options being Energy Ball, Giga Drain, Grass Knot, or Leaf Storm. Those are good things. Leaf Storm's a little bit worse because you do have that lowered special attack by 2, but hypothetically, if you wanted to use Leaf Storm as a cool, I'm going to pop this move real quick to lower my special attack and then probably switch out, or I'm actually physical, but I wanted a strong special move that's going to help me hit something hard if my physical moves are doing nothing to it, it's kind of helpful. Just remember, Giga Drain is a little funky. So Giga Drain is 75 base power. It always hits unless, again, your accuracy is decreased because it has 100% accuracy. User recovers 50% of the damage dealt. Now you can stack this with like an Absorb Bulb or a Big Group, but again, we're not going to cover that. But healing 50% of the damage dealt is really cool. Leech Seed's also really helpful. 1/8 of target's HP is restored to the user every turn. You have a 90% accuracy, so you're going to get 1/8 of their max HP as your healing. So 1/8 of their HP goes to you, which is super helpful. And then your physical moves, you have Petal Blizzard, Power Whip, Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb's kind of fun. I like messing around with Seed Bomb just because Seed Bomb is very single target and you don't have to worry about hitting your allies if you're doing doubles or something. But if you're not worried about doing doubles, Petal Blizzard is phenomenal. It's fantastic. You also get Power Whip. Just be worried. Power Whip is a little bit inaccurate. Sometimes you'll miss when you don't want to be missing. That is kind of a problem. Like I said, Seed Bomb is a lot of fun. You also get access to Sleep Powder and Synthesis. Sleep Powder, 75% accurate, puts them to sleep unless they're also a grass type, then it won't. Synthesis heals the user by a weather-dependent amount. I believe the math is 50% with no weather effects, 75% in sunlight, and I think it's only 25% in rain or hail. I think that's right. It might be 30% in rain or hail. I don't remember. But if you are going to be using a Venusaur, Synthesis isn't a bad option considering most of the time Venusaurs are very bulky and very tanky. Like I said, you have some good options there. We're just going to take a look at... Ooh, I pushed the wrong button. Okay, we're going to take a look at now the poison stab moves that you get, which you don't get many. I'm going to be honest. You get access to Sludge Bomb, Toxic, Poison Powder, Sludge, and Venoshock. Hopefully you can see all of them. Yes, you can. Okay, cool. So Sludge Bomb is special. 90 power, 100% accuracy, 30% chance to poison the target. Not bad. You have Toxic, 90% accuracy, badly poison the target. Poison types can't miss. Be careful of that. Poison types cannot miss Toxic. That is something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize. Poison types never being able to miss Toxic is huge. I know of some professional competitive battlers that forget that poison types never miss Toxic. It is phenomenal. You have Poison Powder, which is essentially a worse version of Toxic in my opinion. You have Sludge, which is just a worse version of Sludge Bomb, and Venoshock, which can come in handy if you're hitting those Toxics every time, like Venusaur should be. Venoshock has the ability that it's a base power of 65 with 100% accuracy, but its power doubles if the target is poisoned. So 65 times 2 is 130. You have a 130 base power Venoshock now whenever you're hitting something that is already poisoned, which is pretty darn good in my opinion. That's pretty good. Now, the issue is that you run into the issues of, well, how do I beat a ground type? Well, obviously you have grass moves. Well, how do I beat a fire type? Do you have water moves? Do we? What do you guys think? Do we have water moves? No. Venusaur does not learn a single water move. It can learn HP water, though. HP, hidden power, works with everybody. HP water is phenomenal. The only issue is his hidden power. So hidden power, if it would let me use it, that would be great. I don't know what I did wrong. It might have something to do with the IVs. But hidden power, if I remember correctly, hidden power is, I believe, base 60. Hidden power being base 60, and it has 100% accuracy. The only issue is 60 base power is not that great, but a cool hidden power out of nowhere is super helpful. We're just going to kind of scroll through and see if we have anything that's kind of helpful in here. Body Slam can be fun. Double Edge can be fun. Just be careful of that recoil. That's why we bring Giga Drain. Chlorophyll, Double Edge is kind of fun, especially with Giga Drain. You kind of have the ability to heal it off. Earth Power if you want to be doing special, or Earthquake if you just want a strong physical move in there. We have Facade, which is 70 base power, 100% accuracy. Power doubles if the user is burned, poisoned, paralyzed. So maybe switching Venusaur into something that's going to paralyze it, because Venusaur is already so slow. Paralyzation doesn't really affect it all that much. Knockoff super cool because it's 1.5 to a held item, which is very helpful because then you're able to remove those items. So if you have an annoying Gudra that has leftovers, you just knock it off real quick, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore because now you don't have those leftovers. It's giving it 1/16 HP every turn, which is very helpful. Like I said, Leech String is good. You have Outrage if you just want to hit something really, really hard. Outrage being 120, 100% accuracy is awesome. Just be careful of that confusion. That confusion will bite you back later. Venusaur also gets access to Light Screen and Reflect, which is super cool. So you're going to be reducing the damage by half for Light Screens, physical and special, which is super helpful. It gets access to Roar, so you can start switching things out if you don't like what you're dealing with. You also get access to Rest and Sleep Talk. So Rest and Sleep Talk is going to allow you to Rest is always going to let you heal back to full HP and get rid of your status. So that's super helpful if you get toxic or something, because even as a poison type, you still can get toxic, which is a problem. But Sleep Talk will still allow you to do moves even through that. You also get Swords Dance, Substitute, Synthesis, Weather Ball. Weather Ball's just fun. You just set up the weather and you can hit something hard. You set up Rain, start throwing Weather Balls out there. You're going to be doing Water type damage Weather Balls. That's just going to shred through any fire type that you have to deal with, especially if you have Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, Weather Ball, and Rain is going to be awesome, especially if you have someone with like a Swift Swim with like a Rock type move. That's going to be awesome. So this is kind of the Venusaur. We're going to be doing Mega Venusaur shortly after this one. I just wanted to cover basics of Venusaur just so you guys get a viewpoint. I'm not going to be covering stats or anything like that just because they're right there. Obviously, you can increase stat by 252 EVs, and then you can also give it a bonus up nature that's going to either make it bulkier, a little bit faster. In my opinion, any faster Venusaur isn't going to be that helpful. You typically want to go tankier or hit a little bit harder. Unless you're running Chlorophyll again, I don't see why you'd want to run Chlorophyll on a Venusaur. Venusaur's slow as dirt. What are you going to outspeed with a Venusaur? Not really anything. You're going to outspeed anything you are already outspeeding anyway. In my opinion, a faster Venusaur is not going to be that helpful. So that's going to be the end of this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope this is a little bit helpful. In case you guys were curious, its shiny is a little weird. It just turns it into a brighter green with a yellow flower, which is kind of cool. It's not the best shiny. It's also not the worst though. Green shinies have a what is the word? I can't find the word now. Reputation for being ugly. It isn't an ugly one considering it's a grass type. Grass types being green kind of makes sense. So, but its yellow flower looks kind of neat, but overall it's not the coolest of shinies. It's still kind of neat. In my opinion, I would not be hunting for a shiny Venusaur. I do like the normal look of Venusaur more. But there are some people that like shiny Venusaur a little bit more than the other ones. And I don't think there are any gender changes to this Pokemon, in case you guys were wondering. No gender changes to it. Just be careful with it. It is somewhat frail if you put it in the wrong situation, but if you have it in all the right situations, this thing is going to live forever because of a Giga Drain. This thing will probably never die if you keep it in the right areas. Because if you run a hypothetically max HP, max special defense, or max HP, max defense, this thing is not going to die very quickly. This thing is going to live forever and still be able to heal itself through Giga Drain, Leech Seed, and Synthesis. It's going to be a monster if you don't set up, or you don't have anything to counter it. The only issue is that it's easily countered. A Charizard counters it. Any fire type really counters it. You could go through the list. I don't think there's a single fire type in the game that doesn't counter Venusaur easily, because I think every fire type is faster than it. Just saying. I don't think there's a fire type slower than Venusaur. And now that I'm saying that, I think of two that comes to mind: Torkoal and Camerupt. Might be slower than Venusaur. I don't actually know. I'm going to quickly look at that real quick. Just so, oh no, I've been disconnected. Oh no. It's okay. My Wi-Fi is a little spotty sometimes. So we're just going to I'm just going to Torkoal. Okay, Torkoal's speed is 76 compared to Venusaur's 196. So Torkoal, definitely slower. And then Camerupt. Camerupt is 116, still slower than Venusaur. So Camerupt and Torkoal are slower than it. So I don't really remember what I was going off of with that, but having a faster Venusaur isn't going to really help, because you're going to outspeed. Most fire types are going to outspeed you anyway, so you don't want to stay in. Unless it's a Torkoal, or unless it's a Camerupt, or if it looks slow, the chances are it's probably slow. So I'm going to leave this one here. I've been rambling pretty long about Venusaur. I'll be covering Mega Venusaur here in the next episode. Shortly after this one, I'm going to try to do Venusaur and Mega Venusaur quickly, one after each other. So remember what I talked about, and hopefully I don't forget anything. I'm also not going to be covering any Gigantamaxes or anything like that, just because Gigantamax is its whole thing of oh, all it does is double HP, increases its stats, and its moves hit a little bit harder, and aesthetically it changes a little bit. I'm not going to cover any of that just because I don't think Gigantamax as a gimmick in a Pokemon game is not that big of a thing, whereas Mega Evolutions can change your typing. It can change your stats dramatically. Whereas Gigantamaxing and Gigamaxing basically just doubles your HP and then changes your moves. It is not a complex concept, whereas Mega Evolutions, and especially the new Crystallization, I'm going to call it Crystallization. I don't really care what other people call it. Crystallization and Scarlet and Violet, like that is a big thing. That's going to change the game permanently. So did Megas. Megas changed the game for a really long time. Everyone wanted to run a Mega. You know, that's why we have the song, if every Camerupt was a Mega Camerupt, I'm going to die to a Mega Camerupt. Because Mega Camerupt was kind of cracked. It was kind of dumb. But like I said, I'm not going to be covering Gigantamax. It's not that cool, in my opinion. It's cool. Cool. Pokemon's really big. Doubles HP. Cool. But like Megas, I feel are more cool. And along with Z moves, I might be covering special Z moves. Obviously, like Mimikyu has Mimikunium Z. Maybe I'll cover it. Maybe I won't. I don't really know. Maybe I'll just ignore Z moves since it was for that one, technically 2 games. And then that was it. I may never talk about Z moves ever again. Speaking of that, I don't think I'm ever going to. I'm sorry for all of you Z lovers. I'm not going to be talking about Z moves. Z moves, in my opinion, are a waste of time, and because I don't think they'll ever be used again. That's it. Like Z moves will probably never be used again, so I'm not worried about it. All right. So I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed my little Venusaur trivia here, or not really trivia. My Venusaur, I don't know, microscope, magnifying glass. Editor me, put a magnifying glass on Venusaur. I probably forgot. Don't worry. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. And I will hopefully see you guys in the Mega Venusaur one where we cover the cool addition to Mega Venusaur, one of the coolest Megas in the game. I'm going to say that about every Mega. See you guys in the next one. See ya! And just remember, always keep your Pokedex near you. You never know when you're going to find something new.